We're back on the Thicc podcast, and it's finally here, folks. Football season is about to start. So, as is customary, we are going to give you our weekly record predictions, starting things off with a fantastic slate of games week one. Tristan, you got anything to say before we get into things?
Well, it's not exactly a hot start with the first game we have on the schedule.
Hey, man, that's America's team facing the reigning Super Bowl champion on Thursday Night Football. I wonder how this one's going to turn out.
They are America's team in trademark only. They are no longer America's team when it comes to the heart of our beautiful country.
Well, hell, man, the Chiefs are playing in Brazil to start the year, so are they America's team? Are the Giants America's team?
They are America's team. They're on the international stage, putting on a good show for our friends internationally.
Starting things off with the Cowboys and the Eagles. And look, week one is always a good point for Cowboys fans because they don't know how bad things are going to go yet. The rest of us, we've got a pretty good idea. Obviously, the news of the offseason, Micah Parsons, a Green Bay Packer. Will it help the Cowboys in the short term? Because as Jerry Jones has told us, they're trying to improve their running game. Maybe, but it's not going to help in this game. It wouldn't matter who they've got lined up at the A gap, the B gap, the C gap. Philadelphia is running all over Dallas on opening night. I've theorized Saquon will have a smaller role this season because they try and preserve his legs for the playoffs. That will not be the case week one. They're giving him 25, 30 carries off rip to let the league know they are still in charge. They're still the boss. The interior of their offensive line is still strong as ever. Their tackles are still the best in the NFL, and they can do whatever they want. Defensively, I like the Cowboys O-line. They're getting shredded by the Eagles D-line. The Eagles secondary is young, sure, but they're talented, they're fast, they're quirky. Cooper DeJean's football IQ shines every game he's in. And in terms of quarterbacks, it's a fairly even playing field when it comes to passing, but Jalen Hurts can scramble at a level Dak simply can't, particularly off that hamstring. Give me Philadelphia going away.
The 1% chance the Cowboys have at actually being a better defense post the Micah Parsons trade is if Kenny Clark somehow gets to his prime after the worst year of his career, and Donovan Ezraku is 65% of what Micah Parsons was coming off the edge for the Dallas Cowboys. But neither of those things, the very small chance there is that takes place in 2025, neither of those things are happening week one. Kenny Clark just got to the Cowboys. A rookie edge rusher is not going to be that phenomenal, or I don't think Donovan Ezraku is going to be that guy week one against the Eagles offensive line. And the Eagles, they have everyone pretty much healthy. Saquon Barkley, he may run for 250. Jalen Hurts, he may tack on another 70. I don't think we are going to see this Eagles team really even pass the football because it seems like A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, they're dealing with a few small injuries, so they'll be on the field. But if they can rely on the run game in this one, I think they're going to, and they are going to run the Cowboys out of the building.
I think every team is a path to victory in every NFL game, so I'll address it for the Cowboys, as small as it may be. If the Eagles' young cornerbacks cannot hold up to CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens together, just stretching the field, opening things up for CeeDee to get the ball in space, or letting George make dynamic contested catches down the sideline, then it might become a little bit of an offensive slugfest, with the Cowboys potentially getting on top there. That would involve Tyler Guyton taking such a massive step at left tackle, though, to keep Dak Prescott clean. It just seems unlikely. We both think the Eagles are winning this one.
Not a hard game to predict. I think the nation is picking the Eagles to win this one.
Naturally. All right, you can lead us into the Chiefs game.
Chiefs-Chargers. Now, heading into this one, the big X factor for me that it makes me feel very comfortable with picking the Chiefs is the fact that the Chargers lost Rashawn Slater heading into this matchup. And I know it happened a few weeks ago, and obviously Joe Alt has had a little bit of time to get acclimated more to the Charger system at left tackle, and they've had some time to at least maneuver those pieces. But against a team that went 15-2 during the regular season last year, they still have all of their good players. Travis Kelce, he's gotten skinny in the offseason. Xavier Worthy, year two of the Chiefs offense. I think we're going to see him only improve this season. Marquise Brown, actually healthy for the Chiefs to start the year. So this is a better receiver room than the Chiefs had last year. Isaiah Pacheco, more time recovered from that broken leg. I think it'll be business as usual for the Chiefs against the Chargers, and I think they win.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Alt was a fringe all-pro right tackle last year. He should be able to make that transition over there to the left side. It's what he played in college. I've got great faith in his ability to do that. The issue is what they stick out at right tackle is not going to be remotely comparable to Joe Alt. George Karlaftis, big game. They line Chris Jones up on the outside. He'll have a big game. He is really going to hinder that Chargers passing attack in the run game. I think Amari Hampton and Najee Harris could be a dynamic tandem, but the interior O-line's just not that strong outside of Mekhi Becton, who is dealing with some interesting issues.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. If you don't want to look it up. But there's just too much noise on the offensive line. Any noise is too much noise for an offensive line. Defensively, I think they got a little bit worse in the offseason. And you can hype up Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy as much as you want. You can talk about Travis Kelce and pretend that him taking Ozempic is somehow going to make him a better football player.
He didn't take Ozempic.
It won't. You can ignore Rashee Rice being suspended the first 6 games of the year. It should have been twice as much. But I still got the Chiefs. They're going to be better coached. They got more poise on the defensive side of the ball. And while Jim Harbaugh can get his squad fired up, I think traveling to Brazil will dull that flame a little bit. They're going to have to stay in their hotel. They're going to be in fear of their lives whenever they step outside. And they're going to get in buses, drive to the game, get back in buses, drive back to the hotel. That's going to ruin the mood for the Chargers. So due to immaculately terrible vibes, I got the Chiefs win.
Hopefully Omarion Hampton is at least able to live up to some of the hype he's had this offseason.
Hopefully Najee Harris is able to live up to the hype. If he can bounce back from a
what
firework
hype has
injury,
Najee Harris
if he can
had?
bounce back from a firework injury in a way JPP just couldn't, that's a borderline Hall of Fame career.
JPP won his Super Bowl.
Okay, and tell me he was the same quality.
Bounce back in a way JPP couldn't.
Tell me Najee Harris can't go for 1,200 yards on the ground, another few hundred through the air. That would be more impressive individually than JPP winning a Super Bowl? I don't think so. Anyone can win a Super Bowl. I could have won a Super Bowl if I was on that Buccaneers roster back in the day.
JPP post fireworks explosion was an excellent play. That's a weird and random shot.
What if not?
Out there.
It's not random. He's the only other player to have a fireworks-related injury. How many other fireworks-related injuries are there in the NFL?
Yeah, but he bounced back very strong.
Buccaneers, Falcons. The team with the most cohesion often wins week 1. Baker Mayfield, much more time in the Tampa Bay system. Yes, it's a new offensive coordinator. He's still with Mike Evans. He's still with his offensive line. Still knows Tristan Wirf has his blind side. Still got familiarity with the center. He's still got Bucky Irving there carrying the load. Chris Godwin, is he going to be back week 1 or do we not know yet?
He's not back week 1.
Not back week 1 yet. But slot god Emeka Egbuka will valiantly fill in for him. Defensively, the Buccaneers defense should be able to absolutely terrorize the Falcons offense. The interior of their defensive line is their strong point. Vita Vea will cave in any designed rushing play. No pocket will be safe. You got to think Kancey will be able to do something on the outside too. You got to hope. You got to hope the Buccaneers' interior defensive line is strong because that is the key to them winning. Their secondary, a little bit banged up, a little bit old. But if they can just shut down the Falcons' running game with Bijan, they will win. And that's what I think will happen in week 1. I got the Buccaneers stealing one early. The Falcons will get better as the year goes on. Michael Penix will develop into a very functional NFL quarterback, but it's just too early against too experienced and too good of a team. You want to play the Buccaneers late.
The things that could make the Falcons better in 2025 are not going to come to fruition, like you said, this early in the season. I mean, Jalen Walker, he's that big edge rusher that they drafted to help their pass rush. He's dealing with an injury. James Pierce, day 1, I don't think is going to quite be that guy. He's not even listed number 1 on their depth chart right now. And I think those players, along with Michael Penix, they are going to build and get better, get healthier in Jalen Walker's case as the season progresses. And also heading into this Buccaneers matchup, they lost Caleb McGarry for the entire season. He's on the IR, so they're going to have someone else in there at right tackle. And the Buccaneers, they just have continuity. Yes, they're dealing with injuries in the wide receiver room from McMillan to Chris Godwin, but they have Egbuka to supplement that. So I think the Buccaneers will be fine. Bucky Irving, Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, they have too much talent. It should be an easy win.
Also lost Drew Allman in the offseason. That's not being talked about enough, in my opinion. One of the better, top 10 certainly, centers in the NFL now in Chicago. Bouncing up to the north, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Cleveland Browns. A more interesting game than people will give it credit for due to the Bengals' history of slow starts. And paired with their lack of security at the tackle position, the strength of Myles Garrett, what I think Mason Graham will be, which is a day 1 impactful pass rusher and a premier run defender, I think this is going to be a bit of a game. Another low-scoring slugfest. The question will not be if the Bengals offense gets on fire and gets 30 points. The question will be how many points will the Browns be able to score on this poverty Bengals secondary. I think Flacco will be able to hang. It's early in the year. He's healthy. He's been with this team before. He knows the receivers. He knows David Njoku. He can find his guys. The running game's not going to be much of a factor. Big deal. Trey Hendrickson's rusty. Shamar Stewart's not really a NFL-level player yet. He's an athletic freak, sure, but he's just not quite that guy. We're going to see him for 20 snaps a game. I think Cleveland actually steals this one through the strength of their passing attack. The running game, I don't think, is going to be a massive factor for either team. And this might just be pure bias against Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow early in the year. It might be my love of Mason Graham and the veteran quarterback situation. But I just got a good feeling about the Browns. This is one of the two right here.
Addis, I am on the same page as you when it comes to your logic as to why the Browns can win. I think this has a chance to be a sneaky competitive game, given the Bengals' history with Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor and their inability to have their engines ready week one and compete at a high level. I could completely see the Browns winning this one and sneaking up on a lot of people. But at a certain point, you'd have to hope the Bengals will enter the season ready to win football games, and I think that's going to be this year against the Browns, who I have winning one game on the entire season, and I don't think have all that talented of a roster.
So you don't got them going one and then losing the next 16 straight.
I don't have that happen. Trey Hendrickson, he is going to be playing because they finally got the contract done. They have health and talent on the offensive side of the ball. It should be enough to win. Keyword should, but I do see the path to victory for the Browns if we just get the typical Bengals.
Yeah, well, now that you've enlightened us with that opinion, it's going to be 40-10 Bengals. They're just going to boat race them and shut them down.
Dolphins, Colts. Colts fans are going to get a reality check with Daniel Jones as their starting quarterback. As a Giants fan, I've had to watch Daniel Jones lose a lot of football games. There have been times where I convinced myself prior to the season, he's an average quarterback. He can win games. He can play within a system. And then when the lights get bright, he does the exact opposite. And that is what is going to happen against the Dolphins. The Dolphins have a sneaky deep pass rush and defense with Chop Robinson, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Kenneth Grant, who they just drafted, Zach Sealer's coming off a 10-sack season, whatever is left of Matthew Judon. I think we are going to see Daniel Jones on the turf early and often in this one. The Dolphins' key offensive pieces, they're all healthy heading into the game. Devon Achane dealing with a little bit of a calf issue apparently, but Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua, most importantly, is healthy. And this Dolphins offense is more than competent when Tua's on the field. So I do think the Dolphins win.
The issue with that defensive system, and I do agree their pass rush is a little bit underrated. None of those guys you just named, Kenneth Grant included, are primary run stoppers. The Colts are going to be able to have their way with this Dolphins defense on the ground. All training camp, we've been hearing about how soft Miami looks in joint practices, how they can't stop the run. You think Jonathan Taylor and the Colts offensive line isn't going to just bowl over these cats? Maybe Daniel Jones gets sacked a few times, but he's not going to have the opportunity to drop back 35 times. If he does, sure, the game's already lost, but Indianapolis is going to keep this game short. They're going to keep it on the ground. They're going to keep it low scoring, which plays in their favor. The Dolphins beat people by jumping out to leads on them early, and after a 5, 6, 7-minute drive from Indianapolis to start the year, I think all the wind just is sucked out of Miami's sails. Give me the Colts in this one.
So you have Daniel Jones on, 10 passes?
I'll say 20, sure.
20 passes.
Completes 12 or 13 of them. Maybe another one to the defense. Who knows? Who cares? The Colts-Dolphins is not a game you get excited for as a neutral fan.
Are you getting jacked up about Panthers, Jaguars?
I am jacked up about Brian Thomas going up against J.C. Horn and absolutely torturing that Panthers secondary. The Panthers defense did get better this offseason, sure. Their offensive line is solid, sure. But I just got a good feeling about Jacksonville week one in the first year of a revitalized offensive system. A team which now has two premier pass-catching weapons in Brian Thomas Jr., a top 5 level receiver, and the much hyped up Travis Hunter, fantastic route runner as we've seen in camp, athletic freak, can catch anything. If T.L.I. is ever going to make it work, it will be against a team like the Panthers, who does not have a great pass rush, assuming Pat Jones does not morph into a 12-sack guy, and their first-round picks don't immediately manifest. I expect them to air things out early. Chris, 350 in the air from T-Law. Bryce Young just cannot keep up with the Panthers' somewhat one-dimensional receiving core. They regret that Adam Thielen trade, not because he's some premier player, but because Jalen Coker, a day later, wound up going on the IL and will miss the next 4 to 6 weeks. It's just going to be Ted McMillan out there catching a bunch of contested balls, and I don't think he's going to be able to pull that off in a way to keep up with this offense in Jacksonville week one.
Over the course of the season, I think the Jaguars are the better team than this Panthers team. I think they have more talent on the offensive side of the ball. I think they're deeper. They have deeper talent on the offensive side of the ball, and they have a couple good pass rushers on the defensive side of the ball. In this matchup, initially, I was actually maybe leaning a little bit towards the Panthers being able to pick the Jaguars off because you have a brand new head coach over there in Jacksonville. Are they going to have the perfect Travis Hunter offense to defensive split figured out week one? I highly doubt it. I think we're going to see that progress as the season goes on. So I kind of saw the Panthers being able to sneak a win out there. But when you have Ike Ekwonu having appendix surgery the week of the game, will he be playing? What level of pain will he be dealing with if he is on the field? You trade away Adam Thielen, you have another receiver go down, you're down to Tet McMillan and Xavier Legette as your primary weapons with no depth behind them. So the cards are not exactly stacked in the Panthers' favor when it comes to player health, and I do, much like Isaiah, think the Jaguars are more talented, so I am going to, that's a roundabout way of saying I think the Jaguars are going to win.
If Carolina shells up, their running game conceivably could pull this out with Robert Hunt, the strength of the interior line, and Chuba Hubbard. I just don't know if they want to slap a giant workload on Hubbard right out of the gate after he's coming back from an injury. But that remains to be seen. I'm picking Jacksonville.
Raiders, Patriots. It feels like the Patriots have been building a lot of momentum within the media and within NFL fan bases as far as how good they're going to be this season. Some people seem to feel like they may be able to sneak in as a wild card team, and I think that is potentially true. There's a lot to like with Travion Henderson being added, Drake May, Mike Vrabel as a head coach. There has been new life within the Patriots organization post whatever last year was. But against this Raiders team, I think the Raiders are being undervalued just because of the division that they played in. If they play in the AFC South, I think there's a lot of potential they could win the AFC South. If they played in the AFC East, I think they could be the second best team in the AFC East. I mean, much better quarterback play than they had last year with Geno Smith. They have Ashton Genty added to the backfield, which was the worst rushing attack in the NFL last season. They improved with Pete Carroll at head coach. Max Crosby's going to be healthy. So this is a Raiders team that has talent. They just play in an extremely difficult division. So I think the Raiders are going to win this one despite the hype that the Patriots are getting.
The deciding factor in this game for me will be the moves New England has made in their secondary. I'm a big Jabril Peppers guy. I think he has been a criminally underrated player throughout his career. He should have made at least 1 or 2 Pro Bowls during his time in New England. Getting rid of him and your other safety in Duger, that is a terrible move for a team which is going to have to face one of the best receiving tight ends in football who can really stretch the field with his speed. There's not a linebacker in this league. There's not a backup safety in this league who can hang with Brock Bowers. I don't care about preseason usage and target shares in a meaningless game where Bowers gets 7 snaps. Geno Smith is going to find him early, and he's going to find him often deep against his Patriots secondary. He is going to be the linchpin of their offense. Not Ashton Genty, not Jacoby Myers. It is going to be the Brock Bowers game week 1 against New England. I don't think the Pats offense will be able to keep up with him alone. Add on top of that, Genty on the ground, Geno Smith's legs, his arm, his ability to find wide receivers 2 through 4, and I don't think it's going to be close. The Pats may have some good culture building, sure, but their defense just is not up to par. Their offense probably will not be up to par with how weak their wide receivers are. Unless they just shell up hard and run it out, they're not winning this one.
No
Give me
week
the Raiders.
1 Drake May show?
No week 1 Drake May show. If it was Jacoby Brissett again, I'd have a little bit of faith in him to pull out the week 1 upset, but Jacoby's off to better things. Speaking of better things, Saints taking on the Cards, and the Saints are being marked as one of the worst teams in the league, them in Cleveland. I think they snag one here early.
Ooh.
They always start hot. The last 3 years, they have started very well. May not always result in a win, but they look good out of the gate, and then they just get worn down by injury. Their offensive line is good. They should be able to run up the middle on a relatively young Cardinals front 7. Their receivers match up fairly well, assuming Ben Johnson is not 100% with his knee injury. They should be able to create a lot of space in the secondary. If they just keep, Will Johnson, Will Johnson. Ben Johnson, Will Johnson. One guy from Michigan, another guy from Michigan. I get the two confused sometimes. And if Chris Olave manages to avoid a concussion, if Alvin Kamara avoids beating up someone in an elevator on the way to the game, I think things will really click early offensively. Spencer Rattler may stink in some people's opinions. I'm at a neutral point on him. I think he can be a fine, serviceable bridge backup quarterback. And when you have an overwhelming talent advantage in the trenches, I think bridge quarterbacks can get you the win. So I'll go the Saints just to spice things up a little bit.
If the Cardinals lose to the Saints, we may have discussions about just kicking Kyler Murray out of the NFL.
You don't want to play Kyler Murray at 1 p.m., man. You don't want to have Kyler Murray on your team at 1 p.m. He thrives in those 4 p.m. low pressure, no one's watching games. People will be watching this one.
He cannot get outplayed by Spencer Rattler. Like, that cannot happen. The Saints just don't have a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball, in my opinion. I don't think they got it going on the offensive side of the ball, with Spencer Rattler being the one throwing the football. Kellen Moore, brand new head coach. I'd like to think that the continuity that the Cardinals have, the talent they have with Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., James Conner, Kyler Murray, that rushing attack that they have, it's going to be too much for the Saints to handle. I don't think the Saints are getting one of their very few wins in week 1.
I don't know, man. They got Kool-Aid McKinstry and Justin Reed in their secondary. It's not a weak unit, so to speak. Brian Breesy hopefully takes a step. Cameron Jordan, the veteran presence there. It's not a terrible unit. Chase Young, early in the year, he's actually playing and not injured yet. It's not a bad unit. The defense isn't as bad as you're letting on. I got a little bit of hope. I think bad teams win early. And I got the Saints pulling off another. Speaking of bad teams, tell us about the Steelers and the Jets.
When it comes to the Jets, I wish I could amend my preseason Jets predictions. I am moving closer and closer towards them being one of the 3 to 4 worst teams in the NFL, because I just don't think it is going to work out with Justin Fields. There's not enough receiving weapons on the team. You got Garrett Wilson. You don't got much else after that. Then there's Breece Hall, Braylon Allen. Unless this Jets team the entirety of the season only has Justin Fields throw the ball 13 times and their rushing attack is that dominant, then maybe they'll win more games than I expect. But against the Steelers, who I think are going to be a very good defense, like always, and you have Aaron Rodgers and what is a healthy offense right now, I think that's going to be enough to get the Steelers a win.
If the Steelers defense can frequently pick off Lamar Jackson, one of the most surgically accurate passers of the football in the league and the best runner of the football at the quarterback position we have ever seen, I think they can handle Justin Fields. The Jets' only path to victory in a productive season is Olu Fashanu and Amon Mimbu being elite day 1 in Mimbu's case and day 2 in Olu's case. If both those guys are good as young tackles, are just 2 bookends, that offense has some life, has some juice, and can get Justin Fields the 4 or 5 seconds in the pocket he needs to find Garrett Wilson. If that's not the case, which I don't think it will be shortly, first half of the season, they're getting cooked by every decent pass rush they play. Aaron Rodgers will have a somewhat uninspiring game, sure. Maybe he tries to get himself fired up to go after Aaron Glenn, who had the gall to bring him all the way across the country to fire him. Maybe there's a little bit of juice there. I don't think it matters. The Steelers offense has to put up 15 points and they'll win this game. Give me Pittsburgh.
Not the hardest game to pick.
Yeah, pretty easy one up next year, too. The Washington Commanders,
stop
with
it.
a revitalized offensive tackle duo, is going to be taking on the New York Football Giants, the darling of my co-host. And the beauty of the New York Giants is that
There's
expectations are actually high right now. It's great. People think they're going to win 8, 9, 10 games, as they do every single season. And I kind of like parts of the Giants team. The D-line's obviously been talked about to death. The dynamic duo of Cam Scatteraboo and Tyrone Tracy in the backfield. How can you not love those guys? Andrew Thomas is healthy for once. That's nice. He's not playing on MetLife turf week 1, so he should be able to make it to week 2 at least. It's not happening, man. Jaden Daniels is absolutely frying this defense. No two ways about it. The offense just isn't going to keep up on New York's side against an elite play caller, an elite defensive mind, one of the best we have in the NFL. No, man, give me a break. Jaden Daniels, crispy 300 yards in total, finds Terry McLaurin twice in the end zone for 2 touchdowns, celebrates his new contract extension by counting off the money in the face of Dexter Lawrence. Maybe, what am I thinking? Maybe Josh Carley hits the sexy Dexy after pancaking Lawrence on a pool. What do you think? You got any idea about that?
I think you are completely out of your mind. Defense wins championships. And call me a hater of 7th round running backs and old man Austin Eckler, but I don't see that Commanders' rushing attack being able to do much against this Giants front 7. The Commanders are going to have to be overly reliant on Jaden Daniels to lead this team to a victory. And with this Giants pass rush, Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, they are going to get after the Commanders. The Commanders' run game is not going to be established to run. They're going to find themselves in 2nd and long, 3rd and longs, where this pass rush will be able to tee off on the Commanders. The Commanders' offense is not in rhythm yet. We are not 3-4 weeks into the season when they have things fully figured out and they are in a flow state. Week 1, weird things happen. The Giants' defensive line is set up for success. They'll take care of business. And I've said this before about the Giants' offense. Will they be a top 13 offense in the NFL? Probably not. Will they be better than the 16 points a game they were last year? Yes, I think that is for certain. So I have the Giants in a massive Week 1 upset, winning over the Commanders.
Marshawn Lattimore is throwing your man Malik Neighbors in a cage. We are not going to hear his name
Washed up
once on
Marshawn
Sunday.
Lattimore.
We are not going to hear his name once. Mikey Sanders still may get in on the action and just blanket that man. Didn't Jaden Daniels complete like 82% of his passes Week 1 last year? I think they can get into the flow state pretty early.
It's going to be closer to 28 this time.
With what Cliff Kingsbury does offensively, man. But since you said defenses win championships, let's talk about what I think is a dark horse Super Bowl contender out of the AFC, the Denver Broncos.
It is a nightmare matchup for Cam Ward.
Cam Ward's not happy. He's not happy about this matchup at all. At least it's not going on primetime.
I agree. I think the Broncos defense is going to be a top 3 unit in the NFL, potentially the best defense in the NFL. We saw them beat elite last year. They had the Defensive Player of the Year on their team with Patrick Surtain. They've only added talent since then, didn't really lose any talent. So this Broncos defense is extremely talented. They're going to get to play against a rookie quarterback with not a lot of offensive help around him. You got Calvin Ridley, whatever you think of Tony Pollard, and not a lot
Cam
going
Ward
on.
thinks he's the best running back in the NFL, so
He thinks every player, he says every player on the team. You got it. It's admirable.
do you think the reporters ask him that question after Pollard goes for 32 yards and Calvin Ridley catches 1 pass? So, who's your number 1 wide receiver in the NFL?
If we're able to get in the media room, we can ask those questions.
Yeah, all due respect to Cam Ward and the Titans' offensive line, which I really do think is getting better. I really do think will be good by the end of the season. Come on, man. They are setting Cam Ward up for failure. People talk about Jadir Sanders being set up by the Cleveland Browns. The league itself set up Cam Ward with this matchup. This is a brutal, brutal rookie debut. I can't think of a worse spot to go into than Denver Week 1 with weak receiving weapons if you're a young quarterback. The only silver lining for Ward is no one talks about him, so people aren't really going to care when the Titans offense scores 6 points. And maybe we're wrong. Maybe Ward just lights the league on fire early and forces people to talk about Tennessee football. I can't be optimistic. I think the Broncos defense is fantastic. I think the Titans secondary is an area of weakness. And Bo Nix, despite his limitations, can't get the ball in his receivers' hands. Let Troy Franklin, his talented guys
it's
like
not
that.
even going to even matter how good the Broncos offense is in this one. I don't think it.
I mean, R.J. Harvey is supposed to be the guy out of UCF. That will
I don't believe.
be put to the test. Josh Simmons, Devondre Sweat should be able to hinder their running game up the middle. The edge play is going to be a little bit questionable. I said I'm going to try and give every team about the victory. I can't think of one for the Titans. I really can't. Unless Cam Ward puts 400 yards on the table Week 1. If Cam Ward is the greatest quarterback ever immediately, then the Titans might win.
So we're sitting at about 0.05% chance.
You never know. Speaking of teams who might win if they have great quarterback play, the 49ers are headed on up to Seattle to face the Dirty Birds, the Seahawks. And I've been bullish about the Seahawks all offseason. I think their O-line got much better. I think their running game is going to be well established. They're not averaging 3.6 yards a carry again. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, they're going to have their way with opposing defensive lines. And that starts early against the 49ers. They got some talented guys like Fred Warner, Nick Bosa in their front seven who can conceivably stop the run. But up the middle, I think Seattle's just going to overwhelm. I think Olu Oluwatimi is going to be climbing to backers. I think Gray Zabel is going to be moving, showing off that offensive line record 40-inch vertical, and really just pounding the second level. I think Seattle is going to make this the shortest game of the day, run it almost every single play with the exception of rollouts and play actions where Sam Darnold completes 85% of his passes on 15 attempts. Their offense is just going to click too perfectly. The 49ers dealing with injuries out the gate. Ayuk's a question mark. CMC's a question mark. Their O-line, Trey Williams in particular, is a question mark. Dominic Pooney's great, but can he hold up by himself as a guard? Probably not. Purdy will struggle early, and there will immediately be questions of if he was overpaid, if that contract extension they gave him was worth it. And the answer to that question is probably not, but we'll get into that later in the year. Seahawks are winning Week 1.
If all things were equal and both teams were healthy, I think I'd potentially be picking the 49ers to win this matchup. But we see the 49ers in constant trade talks about acquiring more receivers because of all the injuries they have in their receiver room. Their running back room has been riddled with injury. How good will Christian McCaffrey be coming off of that injury? Defensively, they had a lot shifting around in the offseason. And you could say some of the same things with the Seahawks adding a bunch of new pieces, brand new quarterback. But Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, they've been really good when healthy. Interior of the offensive line improved. So I agree with basically Isaiah's entire take on how the game's going to go. I think we're going to see a healthy Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet dominate. JSN will get his touches in. The Seahawks have a good secondary to capitalize on what is not a healthy 49ers wide receiver room, and I also think the Seahawks win.
Charles Cross, we know he's pretty good. Abraham Lucas at right tackle is the player I'm looking forward to watching the most, just because if he can stay on the field and be healthy and give Sam Darnold some protection to his face, I think Darnold could actually be a pretty functional pocket passer. Certainly a lot better than he looked down the stretch in Minnesota. I am optimistic about him in Seattle. Great cultural fit there.
Now the Lions are in for a rude awakening. Lions fans are in for a rude awakening in Green Bay. The Packers are going to bring it to the Lions. With Micah Parsons added into the fold, he is going to get after Jared Goff. Matthew Golden is going to establish himself as the Packers' clear number one wide receiver, and we're going to see the Packers take control of the NFC Earth early week one of the NFL season. I got the Packers winning this one. I think Micah Parsons is going to get at least 2 to 3 sacks on Jared Goff. The offense with a brand new coordinator is not going to be functioning at a high level. Defense with a new coordinator is not going to be able to handle Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, and the Packers' passing attack. The Packers are winning this one at home.
The weakness of Green Bay right now is the interior of their defensive line. Any team who can effectively run up the middle on them will be able to circumvent the issue of Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons on the outside, wreaking absolute havoc on any tackle duo. I questioned early on if the Lions will be able to effectively do that. They have flipped the entirety of their interior offensive line. That is a hard position group to completely replace, particularly with an all-pro borderline Hall of Famer guy like Frank Ragnow retiring. Dave Montgomery will not have a huge role in this game. The burden is going to fall on Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think he's going to struggle in this matchup to do a lot. I think he is going to rely on bouncing things out with Penei Sewell being the lead blocker, having Sam Laporta lined up on that right side, double teaming, giving him some room, some space on the outside. If he can just get to that Packers secondary, he might be able to make some noise, but it's going to be real hard for him to do that. Offensively for the Packers, they always struggle early in the year, it feels like. But the key for them is just to pound it out, go up the middle, try and capitalize on a fairly robust Lions defense not being fully back into the swing of things under a new defensive coordinator. Get Josh Jacobs his touches. Let him control the tempo of the game. I'm inclined to say, because this one is at home, to give it to Green Bay as well, but I will throw in the caveat. As of right now, Taylor Decker is not supposed to play. If he plays, I'll flip it and give it to the Lions, but I cannot tell you what on earth is going on with their tackle situation. NFL teams for a long time just refuse to properly report their injuries, and this is just yet another case of that. So if Taylor Decker starts, Lions win. If he doesn't, Packers win.
So no doubt with the Lions coordinator shifts?
Look, it's real easy to run the ball. Like, even if you've got a weak interior offensive line, the play design, the schemes are not hard to do. Any high school level offensive coordinator can effectively run the ball if he's got the talent to do it. The interior of the O-line is a question mark, but Jahmyr Gibbs can make a lot of nothing out of something. That other way around. A lot of something out of nothing.
Now, will CJ Stroud be able to make anything of the offensive line he has in front of him?
Absolutely not. And it's fair to be low on the Rams going into the year. The Stafford injury is a legitimate concern. Their O-line's not special. The secondary is not great on the defense, but their pass rush is fantastic. Nobody is disputing that, and no one is disputing besides delusional Texans fans. Their O-line is among the worst in the league. Sure, you got some new pieces. Cam Robinson, big whoop. Some Vikings backups, some mediocre starters from around the league. They got worse in the worst position they had last year. Their O-line's not going to be able to hold up for 2 seconds, a second and a half, 1 second. CJ Stroud is going to be handing the ball off to Kobe Turner after he snaps it. It will not matter what the Rams do offensively, how badly hobbled Stafford is. I cannot imagine this Texans offense mounting much resistance, particularly with Joe Mixon not on the field, to this Rams defense. This is going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be an ugly watch. People are going to be demanding CJ Stroud get more help. It's just not going to matter. The Texans have ruined the tail end of Stroud's rookie contract by refusing to address their offensive line, and that will be shown week one.
I said I'd believe it when I see it when it comes to the Matthew Stafford injury, and at least heading into week one, by all reports, He is healthy. So the Rams are winning this football game. Texans, weak offensive line. Rams defensive line, it is special. They are going to get after CJ Stroud. I echo basically everything that you've said already. Joe Mixon, he's gone for the first 4 weeks. So they're relying on whatever Nick Chubb is after that knee injury. He's not exactly the Nick Chubb we've seen in years past, or Woody Marks, who's the rookie running back they have behind Nick Chubb. So it's a depleted running back room for this Texans offense. Their offensive line doesn't match up with the Rams' defensive line. Matthew Stafford is healthy. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams are healthy. The Rams are winning.
I'll throw the caveat, the one way the Texans offense moves the ball. If you recall back to last year, the Steelers' only really effective offensive play was Russell Wilson throwing a rainbow ball down the sideline to George Pickens, and at 1 or 2 times Mike Williams was getting 30, 40 yards a pop. If Stroud just does that with Nico Collins every single play, that's a bit hyperbolic. If that is used 5, 10 times, I could see the Texans getting some yards in chunks, maybe getting themselves in field goal range. But other than that, I just don't see a way this team moves the ball consistently. Don't call this next game the game of the week. We did that last year when these two teams matched up, and it was like 44-10.
The Ravens and the Bills?
Yeah, not the game of the week.
Well, I think when it comes to the playoffs,
it's
both
the game of the year.
It's week 1. There's no game of the week. Game of the year is not happening in week 1. As far as what these teams will be come playoff time, predicting what the playoffs will look like, I think this will be the 1 and 2 seed coming out of the AFC. But when we're looking at strictly this matchup, week 1, I think the Ravens are the better football team than the Buffalo Bills. I think the Ravens are the best team in the NFL. You can't really point to a weakness on this team. They have Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, what I think is an underrated wide receiver room by people, because people just like propping up the narrative that Lamar Jackson has no help. I actually like the Ravens wide receiver room. Rashad Bateman took a step last year defensively. They added to the pass rush. Mike Green, who fell in the draft for other reasons, will be coming off the edge against the Josh Allen-led offense. So I think the Ravens are the better team. When we look at how they matched up in the playoffs, you take away those 2 major mistakes, those 2 oopsies on the Ravens side of things with the Zay Flowers fumble, the Lamar Jackson, or it was 3 oopsies. Lamar Jackson fumble, the Lamar Jackson interception. The Ravens win that game in a landslide. They dominated that game. And even with the mistakes that they made, they were this close to tying it. So I have the Ravens winning this one.
Wait, Roger Rosengarten's not that great at right tackle. If we're going to point out one weakness, and relying on Mike Green to be good day 1, which, as always, is a stretch for a rookie edge player, even if he was supposed to be drafted in the middle of the first round. Minimizing those turnovers, pretending they're just little whoopsies, is stupid. If you're going to make those mistakes in the playoffs, they're going to cost you seasons. I doubt that's a factor in this game. The Rams have the better roster. They have the better running game. The Bills' defense, while I think is extremely talented, they drafted a lot of young guys who are going to take a few weeks to really get into the step of things. And I just don't see them holding up to a prolonged Derrick Henry rushing day. I think it's going to be similar to their last regular season game. A few long carries from the King, maybe a few long carries from Lamar. The Bills' offense sputters a little bit early, has to start passing frequently, puts the Ravens secondary in an advantageous position with their 4 all-pro level players, and that's just the end of it. So I have also got the Ravens winning week 1.
Wow, you're not going on brand, Buffalo Bills?
I have said since this game got announced, the Ravens were throttling the Bills. It's a regular season thing, man. You don't want to mess with Lamar Jackson in the regular season. Speaking of regular seasons, it has been a regular season tradition for the past 5, 6 years. Chicago Bears fans to run their mouth and then week 1 just get flatlined. And I am glad to announce, folks, that tradition will be continuing at Soldier Field on Monday Night Football. Say what you want about Ben Johnson and his phenomenal offensive play calling, how he can just get everybody open. Ben Johnson's not playing left tackle, folks. Ben Johnson is not playing right guard. Ben Johnson is not going to be able to protect Caleb Williams from himself and from the Minnesota Vikings front 7. The Vikings are going to dial up the most exotic, the most exquisite, the most eccentric pass rush combinations with Jonathan Allen, Andrew Van Ginkel, Dallas Turner, and Jonathan Grenard you have ever seen. Caleb Williams will be constantly under pressure. The Bears' running game is their weakness. Unless you think the interior of their offensive line is able to solely elevate that unit into being moderately productive, they're going to have to pass the ball to keep up with the Vikings offense. As for the Vikings offense, the J.J. McCarthy debut game, I think he keeps things simple. I think he plays fairly conservatively. Maybe he throws 1 or 2 balls behind his receivers, but for the most part, he will be on target. He will get the ball in Justin Jefferson's hands, in TJ Hawkinson's hands. He will hand it off very well to Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason in a way reminiscent of Michigan, and the new and improved Minnesota Vikings interior offensive line will bulldoze the Bears front seven. I got Minnesota winning this one. Not a surprise. They're the better team. They've got the better coach, the better defensive line, the better offensive line, the better wide receivers, the better running backs, not the better secondary, the better quarterback, the better plays, the better vibes, the better culture. It's all better in Minnesota, and it's already going to be over for the Bears.
Shocker. The Vikings fan is picking the Vikings to beat the Bears.
Hey, what's the money line on the Giants-Commanders game?
Who are the more talented team heading into the game, given the fact that their number 2 wide receiver is suspended for off-the-field issues. Their wide receiver room is injured. Justin Jefferson reportedly dealing with an injury. How healthy is he going to be if he's on the field? And you have a second-year quarterback who didn't even play last year, and his time to learn was kind of put off a little bit by the fact he was putting a lot of time in recovering from his knee surgery. So the Vikings are not exactly extremely well set up to hit the ground running after what was a very successful 2024. The Bears, on the other hand, have a completely revitalized coaching staff, especially from an offensive perspective. They now have an elite play caller in Ben Johnson. They drafted Luther Burden to be a slot player. They drafted Colston Loveland to be presumably the number 1 tight end, but Cole Kmet was even a good tight end already. DJ Moore, we know he's a great wide receiver. Roma Dunze, he hopefully will have a role that makes more sense for him in the Ben Johnson offense compared to what we saw from him last season. Defensively, the Bears still have quality defensive players. They still have Sweat on the team. They still have Edmonds at linebacker. So this is a Bears team that has more talent. We see the Vikings dealing with some injuries. JJ McCarthy, what is he going to be in his first start? I think the Bears at home are going to win this one.
So instead of naming the all-pro level cornerback, you name the most overpaid defensive end in football and the most overpaid linebacker in football when talking about the talent on the Bears defense. The Bears defense
overpaid doesn't mean they suck.
Means they're not that good. Montez Sweat's not a great player, Tristan. He had 1 decent season and then got paid and started bumming it out. He had, 8, 9 sacks as the featured edge rusher in Chicago last year. He is not a premier guy. Who is he going to be? I think he's going to be lined up on Brian O'Neill, but if he's lined up on Christian Darris, it won't matter. He's going to the torture chamber. You talked about their fantastic talent. Justin Jefferson's playing. He's better than DJ Moore. TJ Hawkinson, clearly better than Cole Kmet. Colston Loveland, we don't know yet. We got to assume a all-pro level tight end is going to be better than him day one. I would honestly take Adam Thielen right now over Roma Dunze or Luther Burden. Now, that is probably not going to be the case by week 5, but we have seen absolutely nothing from either of those guys in the NFL. Talk about, JJ didn't get to properly spend time in the Vikings offensive system. He still spent more time in the Vikings offensive system than Caleb Williams has in the current Bears system. There's still some continuity. He was still attending meetings last year. He still had somebody to watch film with him, unlike Caleb Williams, who is in a brand new offensive system. There is no continuity. There is no scheme. There is no direction. There is no purpose in even trying. You're kidding yourself. You are making an argument with me for the sake of engagement and quality content. You know the Vikings are winning. Come now. We must be serious.
No, the Vikings are winning?
We know the Vikings
stop it.
The
Bears at home against...
What home field advantage do the Bears have?
The city of Chicago. Don't disrespect.
What, is JJ getting shot on the way into the stadium? The city of Chicago. Ooh.
The Bears fans are quite the passionate fan base. They are going to show up.
They're going to show out the exit by halftime because they'll be down 3 touchdowns.
They're excited to watch Caleb Williams, this new Ben Johnson offense. They will show up. They are going to be loud, and it is going to be a lot for J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings.
Yeah, J.J. McCarthy, who went to the Horseshoe and won a game in college, is really going to be intimidated by those limp-wristed Chicago Bears fans. Get out of here, man.
The NFL is different.
Yeah, it's quieter. There are fewer fans at Soldier Field, logistically, than there were at the Horseshoe. Ohio State has more fans, man. Like, these college stadiums are bigger. This is not some groundbreaking concept.
The NFL defenses are faster. And
so,
they're more difficult to deal with.
You were talking about the fans and you're pivoting to the
combined,
defense.
You think it's going to be a quiet
Frankly,
environment?
I would take Ohio State's defense from the year JJ played them there over the Bears defense. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't think the Bears defense is that good. A lot of NFL players on that Ohio State team. Not too many on this Bears defense. They're on an NFL team, sure, but that team's Chicago.
I don't know if the math is actually mathing there.
Well, do we consider the Bears an NFL team?
Okay. The hate is getting absurd. Those are our Week 1 predictions. Let us know what your Week 1 predictions are down in the comments below. Are the Vikings going to win? Do the Giants stand a chance against the Commanders to get that Week 1 upset? Let us know what you think. Like the video, subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one.